All right, guys. Hey, what's up? This is Taylor Welch. Welcome back to the Consulting Launch Kit. This is an incredible training for you. We're, for the first time, going to be diving into how do you sell. So we've gone through the work. We've put together the offer. We've kind of gone through a process that's designed to figure out what our market wants, how they want it, how we can show up in the best way possible. You've gone through with Mike on how to build the personal brand and how to begin accruing attention. And in this video, for the first time, we're covering one of my favorite topics ever. Like literally, I did not set out to be a salesman, and I did not start in business to try to sell stuff. I was the furthest away from sales you could possibly imagine. And I was a musician, leading worship, recording music, and touring the country in a worship band. I wasn't good at sales, and I never intended to become good at sales. But what I discovered as I started learning marketing and I got into real estate and started dealing with high net worth individuals is that everything that ends in money starts with sales and influence. In fact, I have a book that I think we're gifting you as part of this, and you should read it and devour it and study it. It's called Learning to Sell, and this video is a more of a dense, potent version of what's in that book. But here's the thing. You cannot get around the mastery of influence. If you're going to be successful, you have to master influence. So what we're going to cover in this video is simply the fundamentals of selling. If I had to sum sales down into one unique idea, so look, everything you need to know about sales can be communicated in this one idea. Here's how I would do it. Sales is leadership. Sales is simply leadership. It's not the scammy weirdo, like let's chase everyone for their money. Sales has got a bad rap in the last couple of years because you have bad practitioners doing bad things, but that doesn't necessarily make sales bad. I just started taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's very humbling. And I'll go, and I'm a big guy. I'm 6 foot. I lift weights, 200 pounds, and 13-year-olds will just fling me around like a rag doll. And I'm learning the martial arts of BJJ. But how many of you know that there are people that can learn a martial art and do bad things with that martial art, but that does not make the practice bad? And so sales is a little bit like that. We're going to learn the art of leverage. We're going to learn how to use leverage to achieve target outcomes. But you have to stay grounded with your moral compass. You can never take money from someone that does not need to give you money. If it's not in their best interest to give you money. Personal power comes from doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons. And if you begin to violate that and you start cutting corners and you use what you learn here to sell things that are not necessary, that people don't actually need, you will lose confidence and certainty in yourself. And as you lose confidence in yourself, you lose power. The sales is leadership, and you have to steward that leadership in a way that is honorable and admirable. So what I'm going to show you here is simply the train of thought from what we're doing when people maybe see our profile, they see a video from us, or whatever piece of marketing you're using. Everyone starts in the same place. They start low trust, high curiosity. Actually, people start even to the left of this. If you want to go even further, they just don't care about you at all. Like no curiosity, no trust. That's when you're like, nobody's coming into your world at all. Like they don't care. This is why you got to be careful when you start marketing. You want to have the level of targeting necessary. So, you're showing ads to people who have curiosity, or they're interested at least about what you're doing. So on the left-hand side, they don't know who you are, and they've never seen you before. And then maybe somebody stumbles across one of my LinkedIns, and they're like, wow, this is interesting. It's a cool idea, but I don't know who Taylor is, and so I don't believe him. That's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with that. They have high curiosity. Maybe they click the follow button, or they are on YouTube. They click the like button, but they don't trust me because they don't know me and they haven't had repeated exposure. Trust typically comes from two things. Number one is repeat exposure. So there's a trust that comes from the repeated exposure of knowing someone's been around for a year or 2 years. I've been following them for 3 years. Some of you going through this training right now, you maybe have followed my books or podcasts or content, and I've showed up for a decade. So you're like, well, he's probably trustworthy. But trust also comes from the ability to communicate that you can solve their problems. And that happens through the questions that you ask and the way that you answer questions that they ask you. And so it's perceived authority. It's authority or perceived authority that you can actually do what you say you can do. So, but everyone starts here. They don't believe you. Low trust, high curiosity. And the process here that we're going to follow is we want to take them from that, push them through from the left to the right, where there's moderate trust. They begin to become interested, not as an observer, but as a buyer. The thought crosses their mind for the first time. I could probably be a client. I could probably work with this person. And then the objections start. And if we do our job well, then we will actually get to the end of a call having prevented most of the objections that would normally come up. Now I'm going to split this video training into two different pieces. This is like really how to think about sales, is the philosophy of sales, is what we're doing when we get on calls. And then we'll have a different one where I'm going to take you through the script, and the script is designed in such a way that it takes people linearly through the left to the right. And then it finally gets to the right-hand place over here where they've got high trust and they are ready to go. So it's important to think about. You don't want to get on calls without knowing the philosophy and knowing what we're actually doing on these calls, because you'll just waste live fire. You'll waste time. So here's how you want to approach your calls. And before I tell you, I'll back up and I'll share this story with you. I've trained probably 40,000 sales professionals over the last 10 years. And it all started, in 2017-ish, around that era. I started hiring salespeople for one of my consultancies at the time. And for the first time, I was having to teach somebody how to do something that I had sort of just figured out naturally by trial and error. When you take, a couple thousand calls a year, you just sort of start getting good at the process. And there's a closer whose name is Mike, and Mike was a phenomenal closer. In fact, Mike's gone on to create his own business. He's still one of the best ever in terms of salesmanship, and he's built a great company. But at the time, Mike was in a rut, and he was like, I don't know what to do. So he called me. I remember, I'll never forget, I was upstairs on the second floor of a gym in Nashville, Tennessee. I took the call, I'm on the treadmill, and he's like, yo, I've had like 40 calls in a row or 20 or something, and they've all said no. They're declining to work with me, and I think the economy is freaking cratered, and I think we're dead, and it's negative and confused and frustrated. It was a long time ago. And I said, well, Mike, I've been waiting for you to call me because I want to share some things with you, but like any good salesperson, you have to be ready and willing to learn it before we talk about it. So what's your job on the calls? He said, oh, get a deposits. No, that's not your job. Try again. He said, well, get to the no. Get to the no, disqualified. No, that's not your job either. He's like, well, get the sale. I said, nope, that's not your job. He's like, man, can you just tell me? Because you could tell he was getting frustrated. I said, you have 3 jobs on your calls. And this is the philosophy known as the 3 rules of sales. And if you master the 3 rules of sales, then you almost don't need any other sales training. Like I said at the beginning, we're not trying to just load you and dump you down with content. This is not... we're not trying to take you through a master's degree here. We want to get you to the finish line so that you can start creating income. So the 3 rules of sales are as follows. Your only job is to help the person make the best decision for them. There is no other job. Your only job is to help the person make the best decision for them. Sometimes the best decision for them is not going to be to buy, and you need to make sure you communicate this. And this starts up at the very top of the script. Hey, Joe. Hey, Jason. Hey, Dana, whatever your name is. My job today is to help you make a great decision based on what you need, based on what you want. So I don't have anything to sell you unless it's appropriate and it makes sense. But let's dive into some questions first. And you can feel how this begins to let the tension out of the room. Number 1, your only job is to help the person make the best decision for them. Number 2, the best thing for them will probably be outside of their comfort zone. And here's why. If it was inside of their comfort zone, they would have already done it. They would not need you. They would not be calling you. The only reason that people get on the phone and they talk about their issues is because they want something that they do not know how to get on their own. And so the decision that has to be made when they are on this call is likely going to be not, do I buy this product? Do I not? But it is, do I step outside of my comfort zone to tackle the issue I need to tackle, or do I stay inside of my comfort zone and stay stuck? And the 3rd rule of sales is most people will fight to stay inside of their comfort zone. Why? Because they're humans, and we do that. Human beings tend to crave comfort and certainty and safety at our own demise at times. And so your job, you can feel the tension here, is now to help them navigate through the things they don't want to do. This is your job. This is how we approach the sales conversation to truly help them. Then we must master the art of helping them, the prospect, navigate through things they do not want to do so that they can have the things they've always wanted to have. Oh, yes, there's tension on these calls. You've got to get used to it. You've got to get comfortable with it. That doesn't mean that we're going to be crazy and put a bunch of pressure on people. No, I don't like any of that stuff. We don't do pressure sales. But what we are going to do is we are going to partner with the version of the person that is capable and deserving of who they want to be. There's always two versions of people. There's the current version of a person. You know, they're stuck somewhere. They don't know how to get past the obstacles they have. They are frustrated and disappointed. They don't know what they don't know. And then there's the version of the person who has the insight and the clarity and the tools and the frameworks, the technology, whatever it is that you're selling. They have the insights, they have the guidance, the mentorship, but they have what they need when they need it to get to where they want to go. So you have to be able to make this decision on a call to say, look, I'm going to partner with the future version of you. And sometimes that's going to feel like it's in direct conflict with the current version of you. Because when someone's on a phone call with you, they're on the call because they're not the future version of themselves. They need something. They do not know how to get it. And so it is our duty, it's our obligation to first ask some questions, diagnose the situation properly. But if the prescription is required for them to get to the next level, then we're going to go to the gates of hell for you and with you so that you can actually achieve breakthrough. We're not going to leave you struggling along by yourself, even if you want to. I don't know if you have kids or not, but I have a 4-year-old little girl at the time of this recording. We have a 4-year-old girl and a 3-month-old son who is a tank. But my daughter, her name is Kate, there are times when she wants to do something that's crazy. Like, jump in the deep end of the pool right after she just got done eating without floaties or anything. And I'm like, look, no, let's not do this. I'm going to intervene here for a second because I'm going to actually protect you from the current version of yourself. There are things that you have to learn how to do that you may not enjoy doing, but because you want to get to the other side of that, they're worth doing. This is making sense. This is all sales is. We're just leading people. So we can take this and we can actually fractionalize it down, and we can say, this is the linear side of the left to right, but we can even take it a step further. And we can say, they go from this place of first I talked about they don't need it, then they don't trust you, then they don't believe it'll work for them. They don't believe it will work for, they don't need you. And then to the place where they're actually ready to go. We're going to take you through these 4 objections in a minute, but I want to share with you before we do a theory called the buyer's pocket. And so all we're doing is we're taking this, and this is a linear type of left to right. You've got red, yellow, green. Obviously, you want to take them from a place of not knowing you, not trusting you, to where all they believe. They've got some objections. You move them past those objections, hopefully, and then they are ready to go. But the pocket is more of a spectrum. It's a rating system. And so on the left, you have low trust, and on the right, you have high trust. Keep in mind, it's all about trust. Everything in the game of sales and the game of leadership is about trust. Can someone trust you to do the right thing for them? This is a tactic we call moral authority. And moral authority is when you're saying the right things for the right reasons. You're doing the right things for the right reasons. When your motives line up with your activities, you have moral authority. This is the world of quantum. We're exiting Newtonian logic. We're hitting quantum logic, and people can feel motive. They can feel it. I don't know if you've ever been on the phone with someone who's like, they've made up their mind and they're not even listening to you anymore. It's like, well, you're not even listening to me, so why am I talking to you? You can feel their motive is just to get you to do something and to convince you of something. Their motive is not to engage and interact with you. And so the buying pocket is when someone is in the middle of this spectrum. Number one, they believe that it will work. They've got to believe that it will work and work for them. This is the first issue to the pocket. If somebody doesn't believe that it's possible for them, they're not going to move forward. Bernays, the founder of Modern PR, said that one of the central ingredients to somebody moving forward on something is they have to have hope that it is possible for them to control it. And I don't have this in my notes, but I have done a lot of study on this in seller buyer psychology. If somebody doesn't believe that they can control their outcome, they will not move forward. They will feel stuck. And when somebody's super deflated, They don't have a lot of confidence to be able to invest into a mentor or a coach or a consultant. And that's what we want. So if you're talking with, companies and B2Bs and like larger organizations, oftentimes these companies, you're dealing with the C-suite or maybe even the founder. They're not going to struggle with this as much, but what they're going to struggle with is the opposite, where it's like they believe that it's possible, but they're not convinced that they need you. They don't think that they need you. And so with this, we were actually using the script that we'll go through in a little bit to open up the flaws and the errors in a person's thinking process or staff or whatever it is that you're selling or consulting on, so that they understand, hey, there's real problems that need to be fixed here. And one of the big telltale signs of like somebody who's not getting it, they're a newbie salesperson or they don't understand how influence works, is because they hate being awkward. They'll get on the phone and get into buddy friend frame. They'll be like, wow, it's amazing what you've built. It's amazing what you've done here. Congratulations. Great, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're just kicking them to the right of the pocket. Like they don't think they need you anymore. Like, you know what? I have done a pretty good job. And I think I could just do it myself. You don't want someone who is so confident in themselves that they do not believe they need anyone else's help, because nobody is self-made. The fastest way, the most ideal way, the most certain way to get to any destination is to find someone who's been there and go along with them because they've already done it. So it's appropriate at times, even in the middle of a conversation, to be like, I'm concerned about this. Are you comfortable, Mr. Prospect, Mr. Bob, Mr. Whoever? Are you comfortable with how this is working in your business? Because it doesn't seem like it's working. What am I missing? And they're like, oh, it's not working. You need a little bit of that because you want them to actually have a position where they trust you. That's number one. Right? You be writing the notes down on this because this is a free flow session. When you get me into sales mode, I very rarely go off of a script. I'm free flowing. So there's stuff that's not on here. There's two types of trust here. There's trusting of you, and then there's trusting of the process. This is both on the right-hand side. And when they don't believe they need you, they're either saying, I don't need you, or I don't need your process. And then on the left-hand side, it's not that they are lacking trust in you or the process. They're actually lacking trust in themselves. Is this possible for me? So case studies, we tend to think of case studies as a way to prove that our process works. Sometimes we think of case studies to prove that, our software works, but sometimes a case study is really proof that they see somebody just like them and like, I can tackle this. This will work. So this is the buying pocket. We'll get into more detail on this later. And these 4 reasons why people don't buy, these are the main reasons when we look at this graph right here. We're moving them from left to right. It's usually time, it's you, it's them, or it's need. So with time, what we have is we have an urgency issue. If somebody is not urgently motivated to do something right now. Now people will buy when they realize that they have a problem, but they'll buy quickly when they realize why they have a problem. This is different. And if something is costly, you're good because they're costing money. It's hurting them. It's frustrating to them. But if it's accruing cost daily, this is a different ballgame. So notice there's so many different types of lenses and angles we can go through from this. Is why the coaching calls will probably be important for you. So we can get into like specifics and whatnot. But if you take somebody like, I think I shared her story earlier, Tasha, who helps people conceive, and we have Dr. Marsha right now. She's up a level or 2 above LaunchKit. She's in Modern Day Consultant. And what she does for people is she helps them through chiropractic and epigenetics. She helps them conceive and have children. Well, that's an urgent issue because time is of the essence. Anytime time is of the essence, then you have time on your side and it's a motivator. But sometimes you're selling something where time is not involved, and so people won't buy right away because it's not urgent. We can fix that. It just has to be communicated in such a way so they understand why they need to buy. When they realize they have a problem, they'll buy. When they realize why they have a problem, they'll usually buy immediately. The second objection is going to be you. They're just not convinced you know what you're doing or that you're the right person to work with. Let me promise you something real fast. If you get on a call, you do not shut up and all you do is talk for 40 minutes, they're not going to buy from you because they're going to be like, this person didn't even listen to anything that I said, and I don't even trust them. If you want to create trust with your prospective market, believe it or not, one of the craziest ways to build trust is ask them questions and then be quiet. And then people just talk and talk and they're like, wow, I've never felt this understood. You know my situation perfectly. So we ask questions sometimes not because we need to know the answers, but because we need the prospect to know that we understand what they're going through. The third is them. They don't believe the process will work for them or that they can do it. And a lot of times when you see this, you'll notice that the person has been in this game for a really long time. They've been trying for a really long time. You have to address that. And so sometimes we'll go like, how long have you been in business? 12 years. Oh, wow. Okay. Why have you been in business this long and you're still not where you want to go? It's a little bit of an intense question, right? But we have to address it, because if we don't, then that subconscious belief in the back of their mind is just be sitting there, and it's going to turn into an objection later. Well, I tried it in 2004 and it didn't work. In 2009 and it didn't work. In 2015 and it didn't work. Why would this be any different? I don't believe this is possible for me. You don't want this objection, so you want to tackle it. And they'll say, I don't know. I just haven't found the right mentor. Okay, cool. Well, they said it, not you. So now you're using their own energy in a form of leverage to prevent or erase this objection. Alternatively, and in the book you can read about this, there's something called mechanization. And you can explain to people in this, like, here's why what you've been trying hasn't been working. And that will remove that objection as well. And the fourth thing is need. They think they can do it by themselves, or at the very least, they're willing to try. And this is a very difficult one to overcome. In fact, in most cases, we don't even try to overcome this one, because usually the need part, and I don't mean to sound crass or disrespectful, but when someone is going through a process, they're going through a marketing funnel, they've been trying to do something for a long time, they can't figure it out, they finally get the time or the courage to book on a call with you. If it's truly need, and most of the time it's not, but when it's truly a need objection, they don't believe that they need you or that they can do it by themselves, it's usually an indication of their intelligence. They're struggling around trying to figure out how to do everything all by themselves. They can't figure it out. It's been years and years and years, and yet the one opportunity they get to fix it, they're like, nah, I'm just going to keep trying. Look, you can struggle for as long as you choose to struggle. You ever get the opportunity to get on the phone with me, I'm not going to convince you that you need anything. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to go wrong, exactly how to fix it, maybe how to prevent it. And at the end of that conversation, you'll be like, dude, here's my money and let's freaking roll. I'd love to invest. I'd love to do this. I'd love to grow. Or you're going to say no, and I don't really care, because there's nothing in me that can want an outcome for you more than you want it for yourself. Now, we'll say most of the time the need objection is not really a need objection. It's a you objection, and they're just hedging it with the need. The script that we'll get into in the next video is designed to pre-solve all of these objections. We're not selling in the script. You got to know that. Essentially, the script is a therapy session for the right person, and it helps you do something that is the most important part of the process, and that is diagnose. That is diagnose. Winning in sales comes from accurate diagnosis, and only accurate diagnosis. It doesn't come from making sales. I love going through reading the wins. I know that you love going through reading the wins when somebody gets a breakthrough, or they get their first deal or their first sale. I love it. It makes me happy. It fires me up. But you can't ever become transactional in the sales process, because what that will do is it removes your moral authority. What is moral authority? Doing the right thing for the right reason. Doing the right thing for the right reason. Well, if you are pitching someone because you want the sale, that's not the right reason, and so you lose power. And notice there's not a lot of places that are going to teach you salesmanship this way. This is not sales from a tactical angle. This is sales from the gut, sales from the inside out. Winning comes from diagnosis. Focus on that, diagnosing and understanding well. The only way to accurately diagnose is if you have nothing to gain except for the health, well-being, and happiness of your patient, prospect, and client. Now, if I talk to somebody and they're struggling in their business and they're trying to build something or scale something and their team's not great and they need help with financing or whatever, and I know how to fix their problem, and I don't prescribe working together, that makes me a bad person. That is malpractice. So when I say that winning comes from accurate diagnosis, not the sale, that doesn't mean that I don't pitch the sale. I'll sell hard if I believe in it, because I'm a good person. I want you to win. If I can truly help someone, it's my duty and obligation to be like, yo, get your behind in this product now. Like, this is what you need. But I can't do that, and I can't go hard on that if I'm transactional in that process and I'm only doing it to collect the sale. And the last thing, and we talked about this briefly earlier, is we want to ask questions so that we understand their problems. That's number one. And number two, they understand that we understand their pain points. The only way to move somebody through this, the only way to keep somebody in the middle of this is if they understand that you are actually understanding them. And there's two levels of understanding. One, I know why you're struggling. Number two, you need to know that I know why you're struggling. All right, without further ado, we're actually going to hop into the script, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to tackle it in detail. And that'll be the second part of Fundamentals of Selling, and then we're going to talk about collecting money. See ya.